Hello, everyone. We'll be starting in 2 minutes. So while we're waiting, can you please introduce yourselves in the chat? Just tell us your name and where you're from. And if you can greet us in your language, that would be great. Thank you. All right. So we have introductions in the chat already. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the webinar series on competencies for evaluators. This series consists of 8 informative webinars that have been conducted since April. And today we will have the 8th and the last webinar of this webinar series, and we'll be talking about the lessons learned that we've um, gotten from the 7 webinars in the past few months. This webinar series has been organized by the Asia Pacific Evaluation Association together with the Interregional Initiative for Professionalization of Evaluation, or IRIPE. So let's get right on to business. So I am Dorothy May Albiento, your moderator for this afternoon's event. I'm an independent researcher and evaluator from the Philippines. And I'm also a co-leader of Evaluate Asia and Evaluate Philippines, and a member of the Asia Pacific Communications Hub, or the APC Hub. So before we get right on to business, just some ground rules for our webinar. Please keep your microphones muted and your video feed disabled at all times. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the chat box, and we can address those in a few couple of minutes that we have at the end of the session. And if you have any other concerns, please send an email to iripe.info@gmail.com or at apea.secretariat@gmail.com. Please be reminded that this webinar is being recorded right now, so please just accept click the accept button, got it button on your screen, and we will be sharing the recording of this webinar in APEA website, and this will also be available in the YouTube account of APEA. And I think this will also be shared with all of the participants in email as well. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to call on the co-chair of the IRIPE, Mr. Vlatko Danilov, for the opening remarks. Over to you, Vlatko.
Thank you very much, Dorothy. So first of all, I would like to welcome all the participants in this in the name of APEA, Asia Pacific Evaluation Association, and IRIPE as well. Of course, we wish you all the very successful training. So as all the others by now. So this is the last training, so 8 in the row, as you said. So this is the seminar of the competency framework, which is developed by Mr. Ruchira, for which we are very, very grateful to him that he delivered this series of seminars. So I find them very useful and very in line with the main focus and the mission of our organization, especially IRIPE, which is main focus is development of evaluation professionalization. So I believe that all this is very useful for you and that we are going to communicate in the future as well. And so I would like just to wish you to have a good 40 minutes of training and to see you again very soon in some other webinars and meetings that we are going to organize. Over to you, Dorothy.
Thank you so much, Vlatko. And now I'd like to introduce to you our speaker for this webinar. And I think those who have been attending the seminar, the webinar for the past 7 months know him already. But for those who are new to this webinar series, our speaker today has over 26 years of experience in quality and HR in the manufacturing private sector and in the development sector. He is currently working in the capacity of Senior Quality Assurance Manager. He is a certified master trainer who actively contributes to build competency models, and he is currently the theme leader of professionalization of evaluation at APEA, in APEA, and is involved in the formulation and deployment of the professionalization team, and a member also of IRIPE. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Ruchira Paranavitana. Ruchira, over to you.
Thank you, Dorothy and Vlatko, for the introduction and also the opening remarks. You set the perfect platform for me to start the presentation. This presentation is the end of the 8 webinars, a series of webinars on competencies for evaluators. Next slide. Okay, so we'll move on to the webinar, and welcome all of you who are joining for this webinar. I trust everyone is staying safe, and for the benefit of the participants who are joining for the first time, so we have had 7 webinars already of an 8 webinar series on competencies for evaluators, and today in this webinar it's sharing the distillation of accumulated learning experience and also very rich insights and inputs, I would say, as sharing of lessons learned. Next slide. So I would like to start. I usually start with a pitch of a quote about the subject, but this time I thought that it would be useful for you to give to introduce a name called Yokoten. Yokoten is a Japanese word, and if you translate it, the rough meaning of Yokoten is cross everywhere. So in the Japanese lean system is actually a system that is followed by particularly the manufacturing sector, and that means the sharing of best practices inside ways. So Yokoten is about transferring knowledge and also the practices from one platform to another platform. It should need not to be always the same field or the same category or something like that. It can be cross collaborative. From one practice and the knowledge you gathered, you can share it with another platform. So it's a very useful term that is used worldwide. Next slide. So agenda for today, we'll look at the webinar series in a nutshell, quick facts, the base product, and also learning outcomes. Standard learning structure is a reflection of about the webinar series, and then we'll move on to the most important part, sharing lessons learned. So under sharing lessons learned, I have parked the ideas and also the comments in three areas. First thing is what went well, what could have been better. It's a very simple way of looking at something in a lesson learned mindset. And then I also have prepared a Q&A synopsis, some important discussion points that we have gathered during the 7 webinars concluded. And we'll also look at some future proposals. And finally, last but not definitely not the least, we'll invite you to give your comments, thoughts, views, and suggestions to improve our journey and for the future actions. Next slide. So if you look at the quick facts, this webinar series is based on competency framework for evaluators published by APPIA under regional evaluation strategy with the facilitation of UNFPA. We started this series in April 2021, and as I mentioned earlier also, there are 8 webinars spanning over 8 months, and the first one is an introductory one, and we have dedicated 6 webinars to cover 6 competency domains. And today we are witnessing the final one, lessons learned. And it is organized by both APPIA and IRIPE, and it's 100% voluntary contribution. So I take this opportunity to thank everybody who has contributed to this webinar series, even in the smallest way. Without all your contributions, the moderators, the speakers, and also the production team, and a special thank goes to Asela, whose mind the concept is conceived, and he has given us direction and leadership throughout the webinar series, and all the others for your voluntary contribution. So we have achieved something that we can be proud of. And then we have broader participation, and the important thing is we have some rich insights and inputs. Next slide. Okay, so you have seen this, many of you have seen this slide before. This is a snapshot of the competency framework for evaluators. We have 6 competency domains, and under 6 competency domains, 43 competencies have been listed out. And under 43 competencies, we went a little bit further to elaborate 208 indicative behaviors or observables. And the 6 domains are professional practice, technical competence, contextual analysis, program management, interpersonal competence, and personal and professional development. We considered it as a separate competence, little bit different to the previous products because of the importance of value that it carries. Next slide. Learning outcomes. We expected for the participants to understand the need for professionalization of evaluation with recognition for competency as a strategic pillar of success, because this webinar series and also this contribution will add value to the global march for the professionalization of evaluation. That is why it gets connected. In fact, it is connected, to be precise, connected to the competency as one of the strategic pillars of strength. And understand the importance of competencies for evaluators, and understand the framework, the product and the process features and various uses, and understand what the learners need to do as individuals to identify competency gaps, bridge them, and continuously sharpening and enhancing them with simple development plan. So our main idea is to see something is happening practically. So if anybody who has joined this webinar series has thought of, okay, I will study this more. I will do some competency analysis for myself to understand what are the fits and gaps and what are the areas that I need to improve. So we are very much pleased with that action. Next slide. So standard learning structure that we have followed, particularly when we explain the competency domain. So we started with reminding of overall learning outcomes, what you have just seen while ago. And we have described the competency domain, explain performance criteria, because competency domain is of just by looking at the competency domain itself is of no use if you do not understand the performance criteria that it gets connected. That is what you have to expect in daily individual and collaborative professional practice. And we also discuss work conditions and challenges, and we explain competencies with indicative behaviors in greater detail. We went into the granular level, the nitty-gritties, and we shared competency building tips for each and every competency domains. And then we discussed learning reflections with some practical questions and practical scenarios for everybody to understand it better. And we concluded with a Q&A session with the expert comments. Next slide. Okay, so let's move on to the lesson learned part. So I've just concluded the quick facts about the competency webinar series. So next slide. So what went well? We got a very positive responses from different regions and very thoughtful and meaningful insights and inputs. Some of them will be explained shortly. And we got fair attendance throughout all the webinar series. We all know conducting a webinar series is a challenge, and getting the participants sometimes is a challenge. But I must say, we got a good attendance and curiosity to learn more about competencies, framework, and application. That is something that we have we have seen in the participants. And positive intentions to act, to do something practically to improve competencies. That is where we are very happy to see that even that can be a very simple act, but nevertheless that adds value, because that talks about application and vast knowledge base gathered through designing, developing, and delivering the webinars, good resource for competency education for future. And I must say, when we develop this material as a group, there were a lot of inputs, complementing inputs, and also constructive disagreements sometimes that ended up in good comments. So the conducting the webinar series itself has been a learning curve for everybody. So we, in the designing, developing, and also after delivering the webinars, we finally have a good resource that will definitely come in handy when we continue with the competency education in future. And it has a potential to a much more improved next webinar series with overall learning captured during the webinars. Next slide. What could have been better? We would have given much more time for Q&A. We all know that we usually plan to complete the webinar within the given time frame. So we would have given more time for Q&A. We sometimes needed more time for the elaborations and also explanations. And it would have been better if we could have offered more practical examples and scenario analysis, and we would have reached to more people out there, and we would also have thought about more collaborations, interventions with other evaluation organization. That means more partnerships. Next slide. So I'll move on to the Q&A synopsis, capturing top discussion points for each past webinars. And we have gone through all the full recording of the webinars, and we have captured here some of the key important points, discussion points in each webinar. So I will be covering all the 7 webinars. Next slide. I'll start with webinar 1, that is intro webinar, introduction of competency framework. And there were 2 discussion points. First thing is the necessity to examine competencies through regional harmonization and accreditation entity, and which was a very important point that is badly needed for sure. And it can be at different levels and through different governing mechanisms. And it's a sensitive subject. Examining competencies, we all know, is when we start first time, it can be a sensitive subject, and we don't have to think it's only for monitoring and evaluation. If you look at the professionalization of different other professions who have a very clear career path, accreditation, and also the trust, the public trust, they also have gone through the same way. They also have passed the same milestone. So nothing new. We all know it's a sensitive subject, and that takes time. But nothing prevents us to start to take the first step, to start from somewhere, start applying competency framework. We should start from somewhere. Just by talking about it, okay, this is a very important thing, strategic thing, this and that, would not be sufficient. So the discussion that we had around the examining competencies is, yes, needed badly, and it's a sensitive subject. We need a lot of governing, the involvement and engagement of governing bodies, mechanisms, but we have to start from somewhere. And what are the foreseeable challenges for implementation? It can be many. It can be a leadership challenge. It can be foundation and stakeholder commitment, to name a few. But this is only indicative, not exhaustive. There can be a lot of other challenges as well when we go through the path. Next slide. So still on the first webinar, role of parliamentarians is massive, truly impacting. We all know the parliament of a country can do a lot of things to, if we want to implement and establish something in that particular country. So parliamentary groups working with the country of affairs is very, very important. So that is what we have underlined here. And many alliances are working on professionalization of evaluation. How can we create synergies and interdependencies? Yes, many organizations have come up with many initiatives. If we talk about the competencies, I would say is the most travel path, because many organizations have come up with competency framework. If not competency framework, they have somehow introduced the importance or started the dialogue about the importance of competencies for evaluators. So we need to talk to each other. That is very important. We somehow get together into a one table and create synergy, and then lay out a roadmap path for us to move together. Next slide. So I'll move on to webinar 2, some discussion points. We talk about professional practice, and then when we concluded the webinar about professional practice, so there was a question coming from audience. Okay, what you have said and elaborated is wonderful, very interesting, but how can you find such an ideal professional atmosphere in the world? So that is, I would say, is a good question. And there will be nobody coming from outside to come and create a good professional, good world with the professional practice for us. It is us who have to do that. So yes, practicalities and realities are far from the textbooks. We all know that. It's not easy peasy, as we say in webinars. Is real challenging. We have really challenging, volatile professional atmosphere, but it all depends on how do we react proactively to these challenges. So that is a quest for excellence of professions, and how organizations can effectively implement competency framework. Okay, so any organization or a country can start by identifying and adapting competencies. And I would say the competency, adapting to competencies or competency framework is not something new to the world. We all have different competencies, some kind of competency frameworks in our country. So we can raise awareness and try to improve competencies for existing evaluators. We can start from somewhere. And then if you want to have a proper system, you can think of other solutions. Like first you can start with simple awareness, then you can go for training solution, both academia and non-academia. And then if you want to move more, the WOPACE can take the lead to have a more methodical and systematic approach towards competency assessment. Next slide. Okay, still about professional practice, webinar 2. That was about a specific subject about the language barriers. So we had a little bit of good discussion about this, around this topic. So yes, it's a common challenge. And one way is to work with a translator who knows the language and familiar with local culture. Also important to learn the other communication methods like sign language. We emphasize, the audience emphasize that point as well. And also reading body language is a skill set, is a skill that you can develop over time with your experiences in working with different communities and contexts. So that comes with a lot of practice and exposure. So, so we had a good discussion on the language barriers. Next slide. So when we move on to the third webinar, that was about technical competence. And there was a question, it's a lot of text, but I would catch the key ideas from this. Are there opportunities available to work with expert evaluators as volunteers to become familiar in the M&E field and get feedback and improve? I think that this question particularly came from the young and emerging evaluators. That is a concern even when we conduct the career development classes, the courses training for the YEs, the similar question. This is a kind of a common question that is coming from the audience. Yes, first thing is you should get technically competent first. So learn properly and get the knowledge first, and then they can join with expert evaluators as assistants and learn from them. And there was an emphasis about the new trend in some organizations. They include YEs in the evaluation teams. Example, UNFPA. So this is a great opportunity for the YEs to get first-hand experience by working with experts. And there were also comments about the importance of networking, learning from others. We talk about Evaluate Asia, Evaluate country chapters, P2P. We have P2P projects, an advisory webinar series, and of course, anybody can join with the social media groups. There are different evaluation list servers, Google groups, that if you look around, you can get support from. Next slide. Excuse me. So still on the webinar 3 technical competence, more explanation on feed forward mechanism, that is a concept that we brought in this under the technical competence. So it's like we always talk about feedback, and normally if something happens, we used to look at the upstream. So we usually look back, but looking forward is also important. Looking at your downstream is also important. So what does it mean? This means we can identify the things which can pop up in the future and that can create future issues, or else we don't have to expect the negative impact always. It can be a positive impact as well. So both risk factors, negative impacts, and also opportunities. So the most important thing is, whenever you have something that you during the evaluation process that you think that is of important for the future, and you think that you need to share it with the stakeholders in the next process, so make it a point to share it with the stakeholders of the next process. So that will act as a kind of a feed forward mechanism for evaluation. Next slide. Then we move to webinar 4, contextual analysis. So there was a question coming from the audience. We had a discussion. What is the best practice? Overall stakeholder analysis that is done for the project, or do we have to do a specific stakeholder analysis for each evaluation undertaken? So normally we expect to conduct stakeholder analysis during the project design, it's part of the project design, but we have seen in most of the projects, the stakeholder analysis is missed, or sometimes it's premature. So evaluators can do the review of stakeholder analysis done by project team and see whether the stakeholder analysis is still valid. You can check the validity from time to time, or need to be revised, because during the project period it can be changed. So there may be instances some stakeholders have not been considered. So for evaluations, we have sometimes reference groups, stakeholder groups support into evaluations. So even some stakeholders can part of the evaluation group. So it's important to have the right stakeholder analysis. So that was our explanation to this question. Next slide. So when we move to webinar 5, it was about program management, and there was a question that says professionalization is a good instrument to prepare emerging evaluators in the field of learning. However, it is not a panacea for all ills. So it is equally necessary to develop legal instruments so as to safeguard and prosper the profession. What do you think to authenticate some of the important professional norms, values, ethics, and practices through country-specific legal instruments? So that question, we answered this question. We had a discussion because of the importance of the questions, though it was not purely linked to the program management part, and that talks about professionalization by and large, and then the importance of application of legal instruments. So the discussion summary, the summary of the answer is ethics and standards are very important for any profession, because that question that talks about norms, values, ethics, practices, standards, and that is for sure for any profession. It's an important constituent. Evaluation is an evolving profession. It still is a young and fledgling profession, and need to have established ethics and standard in country level. And we all know that there are a lot of efforts have been put by the governing bodies to set up to define some code of ethics for at least for the country levels. So in most countries, however, most countries do not have ethical standards. Countries like the Canada, USA, Australia, Japan. So there are countries who have come forward and introduced some ethics and standards. Just by introducing is not enough. The people have to follow it and practice it. But most of the countries, even recently, we have done a survey for Asia Pacific region that is done by the APIA evaluation professionalization of evaluation team group under regional evaluation strategy. We learned that only a few out of the countries in Asia Pacific have they have heard about ethics and standard, and again the countries are numbered who have come forward to implement something. So WOPACE can take the lead in developing them, as this is essential for professionalization of evaluation. But still there is no legal framework, legal instruments or legal framework for evaluations which can be found actively and efficiently managed in countries. Next slide. So webinar 6 was about interpersonal competence, kind of softer skill part of an evaluation. That is where we talk about the communication, negotiation, coming to feedback management and conflict resolution. So those kind of soft skills for the evaluators. And there was a question came from the audience: which is the best way to deal with people who are doing evaluation together but cannot seem to agree on anything? So now here we say that there is no, I mean, the defined way or an established procedure to handle disagreements or a conflict. It all depends on the situation. A lot has to be thought about reading and gauging the situation around you. So if you have any disagreement or any, I would say it can be a constructive disagreement, and at times can be a destructive disagreement also. So you have to use your negotiation skills and manage that situation. So we get practice by experiencing such situation, and experience counts a lot here, because you as evaluators, we all as evaluators carry enormous experience with us. So it's we all are part of the same team. We are one team, and it's somehow we have to, one thing is your openness matters, because if there is a disagreement that you can agree, you see that there is a clear point of view. If you look at the other people's points of view, then you can consider and you can adjust and come to a consensus. We all know that in a team, the team consensus is, if I have a different opinion, if we are a team, you all respect my right to hold my opinion. I have a different opinion. So team respects that person to have a different opinion, but ultimately I respect the opinion of the team, the majority of the team. So so that is team consensus. So that means that I cannot go out and say, okay, I had a very bright idea, but they did not listen to me. Not like that. And another thing, there is, I mean, it's not really for these. It's about coming to consensus, and there is a danger in coming to consensus by common consensus by team very quickly also. That is the loom and doom of team thinking. There is a separate theory on that, because that if we are a team and we have a nature to agree, yes, we all agree within a short period of time without doing a critical path analysis or something like that, there is also a danger. So it's always look at it in a positive way. If there is a disagreement, if there are different opinions, so that that can add a lot of value also to your discussion, and finally that will improve the decision quality. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so this question came during the last webinar. We had this webinar last month. That was about personal and professional development. So we did not have a kind of a formal script for that webinar. We talked with a lot of freedom, because that is about all about developing ourselves. So what is our opinion about the necessity of certification in evaluation? Are there certification systems for MNV? We don't see a kind of formal certification programs except for Poland. They have established a certification program that also came through with through a lot of consultation and validation processes. And there are unanswered questions so far, such as whether there are proper academic courses or training, what kind of standards that they should have. They should have bear those standards, and also what kind of governing mechanisms we should have on them, and what is the proper process of assessing evaluators, who can certify evaluators, and who can deliver the certified evaluators courses. So likewise, so there can be many questions, but this is one way that the entire world is thinking about to move forward. So this is one way that we can add lot of value, and also the rich fertilizer to our professionalization of evaluation journey. So that was a very important question for us. Next slide. Okay, so are there any gaps? I think we have come to the conclusion of the presentation. Are there any gaps in evaluation sphere to do research on? Why not? Yes, absolutely. There are many areas that need more research. So professionalization of evaluation can be one thing. API is doing some kind of research on this area. And even if you take the professionalization of evaluation, if you cut it down to meaningful slices, there are a lot of areas that you can do research. So we all invite, let's get together and use the research opportunities to bring out new knowledge to the field, to the profession. Next slide. Okay, so that concludes the webinar series. Webinar series ends here, but we all know learning journey continues. So I invite all of you to stay tuned. Let's join our hands together, and let's start some dialogue about understanding the competencies, and do something in your region, in your personal capacity, maybe no issue, to improve competencies. And you can do a fit gap analysis, and you can build and enhance competencies. We all want to grow. Each one of us has a role to grow professionally, because the professional development and career growth is a never-ending journey. And when we do that, and when we work together, we all grow professionally together. We learn from and with each other. So see beyond evaluations, go beyond evaluation, as always we say, and make evaluations matter everywhere. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Roshira, for that very comprehensive rundown of the lessons that you've learned throughout the 7 webinars that you've conducted since April. And indeed, the lessons that you shared were really very interesting and really insightful. And as we continue with our webinar today, we'd like to ask our participants or audience if you have any suggestions for future improvements or future actions related to the professionalization of evaluation and webinars that we can conduct in the future about this. So if you have any questions or concerns or insights, please share them in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we can acknowledge you and you can share with the group. Anyone? So I'm looking at the chat now. Some are asking if the slides will be shared. Yes, we will share the slides and also the recording to the webinars. They will be available at the website of APEA and their YouTube channel as well. So I see that there are some people who have raised their hands. Let me take a look at our... I saw some people raising hands earlier. Anyone who would like to share? From the chat, I also see a comment from Malika, very comprehensive. And she says, thanks to Ruchira for this presentation. Okay, from Rakshinda of Eval Youth Pakistan, I'm thinking of sharing the published evaluation work of evaluator and how they went through the whole process. The real-time experience will be best for our learning. Sonam says we missed slide number 28.
Dorothy, we invite if anybody wants to speak up, you can unmute yourself and share whatever your comments, thoughts, suggestions, anything, feel free to share it with the group.
Yes,
Thank
anyone who wants to share your insights, your thoughts?
Hello?
Yes. Go ahead, Abdul Kadir. Hello.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, all of you. I'm speaking from Somalia. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please do share your insights or comments.
And watch the presentation. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Watch the presentation and listen the facilitator. Yes, and this is very important. And my question is, I was listening the presentation and mainly if I need to comment, maybe to put my input in the next presentation, which will be, which channel do I go and flow? Which channel is, where is to, suppose I want to come up with some inputs in the next presentation, who is leading and who is capturing the comments and concerns in the next presentation? I think my question is clear.
Can you repeat that question again? I think I misheard it.
Yeah, I was listening the presentation from the beginning.
Hello, I think your connection is a bit choppy. Hello. I think his connection just went out. So we have another comment from the chat box. So
Yeah, sorry, my
Sonam,
line my line is poor. My internet
okay.
is very poor.
Yes.
My
Go
question
ahead.
is,
Or if you want to type
my
your question, you can do that as well if your
yeah, my
connection is
question
not
is,
good.
okay. Yeah, my question is, if I want to put some input suppose in the next presentation, who is the right person to be contacted and collect concerns or maybe inputs? I was listening the presentation, and the facilitator was bitterly saying that the participants questions, maybe comments. So if I want, how do I know the next agenda, and how do I comment, or maybe how do I input my input?
Okay, so this is actually the last of this webinar series, but if you have, if you want to look at the recordings of the previous ones, and then you can take a look at those recordings at the website of APEA. But if you have any inputs or comments or any suggestions that you want to share, please do contact the email address that's on the chat box right now, apea.coordinator@gmail.com. So if you want to reach out to APEA if for any inputs or insights about this webinar series, please send an email to apea.coordinator@gmail.com. All right, does that answer your question? Okay, so now we also, I was sharing earlier, a comment from Sona, certification of professionals may be a good idea to move forward. You have any response to that, Ruchira?
Yeah, Dorothy, definitely. I have covered that in one of the discussion points. It's a very good idea. Even we have some live examples coming from Poland. They have shared their case in different forums. So I think anyway, it's a common to all professionalization initiatives. So it's fully agree with that. It's a very good idea, but it has to be done carefully in tongue twister, institutionalizing it.
Yeah, I'd like to go back again to the comment from Rakshinda of Evaluate Pakistan that she thinks that sharing the published evaluation work of evaluators would be a good idea, especially like how they went through the whole process, the experience, and it will be good for learning of young and emerging evaluators like us.
Yep.
Are there any published? Are there any websites or resources that we can look at to look at, for example, published evaluation works to learn from them?
Now say it again, Dorothy. It's about networking or
No,
what?
Rakshinda is saying that it would be good if like the published the evaluation works or the evaluation reports of evaluators would be published, like for those who are new in the evaluation field, for YEs to get to learn more about the process of doing the evaluation and experience of evaluators for learning purposes.
Yeah, I think Asela can help me to give a proper answer to that question. I think even eval partners, if you take eval partners, they have a very rich e-library, and there are there are some other uh, knowledge bases as well, right? We talk. The question is about the sharing evaluation reports, right?
Yes, there was
Yeah.
the comment from Rakshinda. Okay, so now other comments from the chat box. Muban says we covered the ethics and norms for the evaluators. Since only evaluation assignments are awarded by the implementing agencies themselves, they may also need to observe certain ethics and norms, not to pressurize the evaluators. So does this require separate treatment? So that's a question from Buban.
Yes. Yes, we cover, I am not saying that we have to always start from the scratch when it comes to ethics and norms of the evaluators. So we though we sometimes don't give it as a splash, we have ethics and norms for the evaluators, and when the evaluation is awarded, and when we work on certain evaluations, we are bound by those ethics and norms. But what we say is here is uh, I am not saying that we should pressurize more or a separate treatment. But if you look at the other professions like law, like medicine, and like similar profession, they have some prescribed predefined ethics and norms that they should follow. So that is if we want to get the acceptance and acceptance of a standard uh, profession that can win public trust. I think this is one of the areas we should look at, throwing out some of the emotions we have. It needs sometimes at least to agree on a standard prescribed standards. So that is the learning that we can get out of those standard professions. So yes, you are absolutely right. I fully subscribe. We have certain evaluation standards and norms, but uh, going forward, we need uh, it's a sign. It's a sign, and also the initiative that will give us a lot of maturity when you go through the professionalization journey. If we can agree and apply a kind of standard norms and code of ethics worldwide. So that is definitely something that one of the pillars that we need to look at.
Okay, thank you for that, Ruchira. So Rakshinda, sorry, I misunderstood your comment earlier. So Rakshinda was saying she is suggesting that for further webinars, we can also look at the results of evaluation reports, so that we can dissect, I think, the methodology, approaches, and the standards that have
Yeah,
been used
absolutely.
in the evaluation reports. So
Yeah, absolutely.
examples of evaluation reports.
Okay, okay. So that is a suggestion for the future, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
A suggestion to look into evaluation reports as examples. And then Abdullah is asking, how does one interested in the professionalization tap into the Poland certification program for evaluators? How can they look into that or tap into that?
Yeah, we can share the link to this. We can share the link with the participants. That has been shared, I think, one or two times. So we'll definitely share the link with you, so you can get through the details. In fact, the Poland Evaluation Society is one of the members of IRIPE, the Interregional Initiative for Professionalization of Evaluation. So we'll share the link with you, sure, for sure.
Okay, thank you so much. So Rexinda also said, overall, she thinks that this is a very good series for revisiting our concept related to evaluation, and she looks forward to more series like this in the coming years or months. So thank you so much. So this is all the time we have for our suggestions for future improvements in for future webinars. So to close this webinar, I'd like to call on the President of Asia Pacific Evaluation Association, Mr. Estela Calugampitia. Estela, over to you.
Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you very much. I'm really happy that 8 months, 8 webinars, one series on professionalization. And that was a dream for us at the beginning, but all of you made it, possible. First, Ruchira Parnavitana, as he mentioned, this was, completely voluntary. He prepared all the, materials, all the presentations, and, really committed. He was really committed to do this webinar series, and he did all 8 webinars. We must really thank him for his dedication and this, great webinar series. At the same time, we had, of course, great participants joining all the webinars in different months. We must thank participants as well as, IRIPE and, other partners, especially APIA team. We have Vlatko Danilo, today he spoke, and, as the IRIPE co-chair, we must, appreciate that partnership, and all the other speakers and moderators like you, Dorothy. We had moderators for each webinar, and also opening remarks and closing remarks, different, speakers, and also from the behind the scenes, many people had for production of this webinar series. Madhuka organized these webinars, and our other, coordinators previously worked, and Randika, Chamatkara, and Hasiti, and many other people helped for the production of these webinars. Although they are not very much visible all the time, so we must thank everyone. Even if I did not mention anyone's names, I definitely want to thank everyone. And I'm really impressed with the suggestions came in the chat, and also from the audience today. Definitely now this was the series of webinars to introduce competencies. And now there are great suggestions to share results of evaluation reports. That is also a great thing that we can think of. Because it is a challenge. First thing is evaluation reports are not available, not publicly available. This is a challenge. And even if it is publicly available, these are not discussed. So we need to, now when we talk about professionalization, we need to have these dialogues, discussions, then it will improve competencies, knowledge, technical knowledge, and also insights of evaluators. So we need to think about it. And I'm really thankful for Rakshinda for this suggestion.
Asela, I think you're muted.
Sorry, I'm getting some disturbances. That's okay. I don't know whether only I got it. I got, big sound. Okay, sorry about that. Maybe a technical issue. I don't know whether it's a technical issue or any disturbances made. And the other sessions regarding came from the audience. Certification program from Poland. Of course, as Ruchira mentioned, they are a partner of IRIPE as well, and they are very much closely working with APIA and others. And we can even organize another webinar or two with them about to know about the certification program. And ethics. Bhuvan mentioned about ethics. So not only for evaluators, at the same time others who are commissioning evaluations. This is also really important. So maybe we can have some webinars about ethics. So I would like to thank everyone, and also now go ahead with next steps. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Asela, and thank you everyone for joining this webinar series, especially to those who attended the whole 8 webinars throughout the 8 months that we conducted this. And before we end, we'd like to invite you to the 2nd anniversary of IRIPE on the December 15th at 8 a.m. I am 6:30 p.m. IST. So the theme for the anniversary celebration will be the challenges and opportunities in the professionalization of evaluation. So there will also be a launch of products and a panel discussion on professionalization. So we hope to see you again there. So for registration purposes, please register through this link below or email iripe.info@gmail.com for more information. So again, thank you everyone for staying with us throughout this webinar series. So if you have any further questions, insights, or inputs that you might have missed to share with us during our Q&A portion, please do share with us through this contact details that you can see now on the screen. So you can send them to the email address of APEA or IRIPE once you have a good look at what happened today. And if you have any other questions or inputs about the webinar series, please do share with us through email. Again, thank you so much, everyone. And that's a wrap. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you.